record, there's a story to be told. Into the world of music and more. Music and melodies and memories are in store. From Elvis to polka, we have it all. And Kenny's music and more, you'll have a ball. You'll have a ball. You'll have a ball.
Well, hello, everybody. Don't be cruel now. Don't be cruel.
Hang on a second.
1 second.
Yeah,
Did our
hang
mic
on.
work?
It
No, our
took
mic
1 second.
Hang on, so they can
The
mute
computer said the
you.
mic wasn't working. But you know what? The mic, unfortunately, is working.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Clint. Well, it is my pick this week, and as you can tell, I have picked an Elvis item.
1 second. It took you 1 second to mention Elvis.
Oh, I completely told everybody. The clock will officially be off on this one because with me doing an Elvis album, right, we are going to get into Elvis right off the bat. And I want to take my
And
Elvis belt
bondage.
off.
Up and down.
And so it was my pick this month, and I decided to do this Elvis Presley album. And obviously, right, with every record, there's a story to be told, and there's a great story to tell behind this. Elvis Presley, to give just a little bit of information without going too deep into the backstory here and boring you completely. Right, Lance?
It's already been too much.
It's too much already. And so this Elvis Presley album is going to be his first one as he goes to RCA. And so the story is he's over at Sun Studios. He has recorded 5 45s, and those 5 45s are actually very expensive today. If I was thinking I should have brought some in today, we could have brought that in too. But those typically will sell anywhere from $300 to $2,000, depending on their condition. And so Elvis has been picked up by Colonel Tom Parker. You'll see some of that if you watch any of the movies. They kind of talk on some of the newer movies of how that happened. And so Elvis has recorded a bunch of songs over at Sun Studios, and Elvis's contract gets bought out by RCA, and he goes over there and he starts recording a lot of music. And so what RCA Music does is they had just released Heartbreak Hotel. Okay. And so Heartbreak Hotel is going to be the first #1 hit in April. And it's going to go, this is released in late March of 1956. And so their thought behind this record is we just got this artist and we have all of the tracks from Sun. And so they're going to mix some of the Sun songs. They're going to put in the songs that weren't released yet by Sun. And then some of the recordings as they're trying to figure out songs that they want Elvis to do. And so they know Heartbreak Hotel is a hit, so they release that as a single. And then this album gets released then as his first rock and roll album. Now this album will end up going #1 on the Billboard charts, and it is the first #1 selling rock album of all time.
So it's a compilation record, Mike.
It is a compilation.
So it'll stay on the charts, like I said, for 10 weeks. In the meanwhile, they're going to start releasing, all of the hits that they're working on there. And so the story with this record also is that Elvis obviously is not a songwriter. Okay. And
No.
What?
Get right out of
now,
town.
what I'd like to mention too, for posterity's sake, is that at that time, 10% of the people, an estimated 10 to 15% of the people, actually did their own songs. And the places that they did write their own songs was you had Hank Williams in the country world who was doing it, and you had some blues artists. But otherwise, most of the established singers at this time, the industries were separated. You had the entertainment, and then you had the songwriters. And so the songwriters then they're all established by the publishing companies to write song for the stars. And so Elvis is growing up and coming up into that business, and that is the formula. That is the setup. And so obviously he comes in, and as Elvis does, what he likes to do is he likes to he loves music, and so he's listening to stuff, and his style is what you're going to see in a lot of this early stuff. And because the second thing I like to point out when it comes to Elvis is obviously it's not his song, but Elvis has a way of making it his song.
own.
And so Elvis will hear something, and it brings me to one of the great comments of one of the greatest songwriters of the 60s, Doc Pomus said. He said that with an Elvis, when you got Elvis to do one of your songs, you got a song plus, is what he said. Basically, what that meant, right, is you would get the song that he would write for Elvis, or that Elvis would pick that what other people were doing, then you'd get the Elvis flair to it.
Right.
And so Elvis had a style that was uniquely his, but it was adapted from listening to a lot of the church music that he was listening to as he would roam throughout Memphis when he moved there as a young boy from Tupelo. And so the family was very poor, and so he's kind of going around to all of these churches, these African American churches, and he would pick up this sound, and he just absolutely fell in love with it. He would go down Beale Street, and it would start to motivate him. And now, the interesting thing about it is, as he was listening to this stuff, and then because he was white, obviously, he was able then to get a market that unfortunately many of the African American singers at that time couldn't have. And so what happened then is, and I would even say, if I'm correct, it was at Sam Phillips, but there was somebody early on that said, and if Bruno, if you're watching, if you know this, I think it was Sam Phillips, but he said, if I could find me a white artist who could sing the African American sound music, he said, I'd be a millionaire. And so, because the music was so good, right? And it was so heartfelt. And so Elvis was able then to come out, and then as he was able to then popularize it, then a lot of those people would start to get a voice that they weren't getting, because at that time the country was very segregated, and it was there was a lot of racism going on. And so with that, Elvis, I think, was a great outlet, right, to start to get some of that out. And so anyway, and so there's a lot of great early songs on here. A lot of them are the early rockabilly sound that we're going to get. As I said, and I think I said it already, but yeah, so I think 5 of the tracks are going to be from the Sun Studios, and then the rest of the songs are going to be some of the stuff that they're doing in the RCA studio. And so this song is going to, I shouldn't say this song, this album is going to revolutionize the country at the time, and it's going to set forth the big wave of music that is coming forth then, with a lot of the other artists. You got your African Americans, like we said, right? Little Richard, Chuck Berry. But actually, if you remember, it was actually Michael J. Fox.
Right.
Remember?
Michael J. Fox that created all of it.
Right, who created all of that. So
No, I think it was actually Calvin Klein.
Right, Calvin Klein.
Stand correct.
And Ben, if you watch Back to the Future, there's some Back to the Future jokes there. And so anyway, and then we're going to get Buddy Holly and a lot of these, of course, Big Bopper at the time too.
Right.
And so you got a lot of these early rock stars who are just shaking up the country. But the big thing with Elvis, I think, that also gives it a draw is, besides the Elvis interpretation, you also get the Elvis commotion, because Elvis moved his hips. And
The
so
Elvis pelvis.
the Elvis, and he actually hated that when he was called that. And so Elvis would go on stage, and he would feel the music, and once the girl started to scream for him, then obviously what he would do is he learned to manipulate that and get the girls to scream even more. And so oftentimes, right, he would be bum rushed. They would try to steal his clothes, and and so it got to the point that was so bad that Elvis eventually had to buy Graceland, because his mom said, you know, it's great you have fans, Elvis, but the girls, they're running down all your neighbors' flowers. And so he was like, okay. So he went out and he found Graceland. And at that time, now if you go down into Memphis, you'll see that it's kind of like stuck in the middle, right, of this burgeoning, right, metropolis. And at the time, though, it was out in the countryside, right? And so Elvis, he comes back and he says, Mama, he says, I found you a place, right? And he says they won't run over the neighbor's flowers anymore. So, and if you know the story, Elvis was, some people would say, was awkwardly irrational, the love that him and his mother had. He even had a pet nickname. for his mother, and
Did he have a bit of an edible complex with her?
and so with
Well-
that, it'd be interesting to see. Now that the guys have listened to it, I know there are some songs on there you probably haven't heard, because a lot of these are not going to be #1 hits, right? So these are going to be released in a late March. It's going to be before the big hit, the rush of #1 start to come out. The Hound Dogs, the Don't Be Cruels, All Shook Ups, and so it's very early Elvis, the Elvis that was kind of being figured out on the road by Scotty Moore and Bill Black and him as they're trying to develop the sound. So it'd be interesting to start with Brad today. Brad, what do you think?
Ooh.
And I'll
Well-
let you take it from there.
Okay, thanks. I guess when I listen to Elvis, I gravitate to the Sun stuff all the time. I think that was the iconic rock and roll that he brought us, and that sound, which is on this record. There are other cuts though, and I guess my question was that there was that other album that came before this on RCA. Did that also have Sun cuts on it?
No.
Okay, so this is the one. If you're gonna buy an Elvis record, buy this or buy the Sun Sessions, which is a double album that RCA put out. They also did one in the 70s, 1977, Sun Sessions, which is also very, very good too. We listened to it in mono, the way it should be. They RCA decided to reprocess it for stereo at some point in the 60s, and I would avoid those like the plague, just stay with the mono recordings. But it's great. As far as the Sun material, I don't think you can fault it. It's just iconic rock and roll. It's part of that first wave. Yeah, that first era of rock and roll, that 1956 to 66, which it's where it's all started, and things derived out of that. And I guess, and we did listen to a reissue. I want to note that these records have been repressed a lot. We listened to the reissue. Kenny has an original pressing from 1956 that we did put on later, and it actually, I think it has a certain charm to it, just the way it was done. They didn't digitize it or anything. It's just wish we had a little better copy, but it was yeah. And as far as I'm concerned, there's only one stinker on the record, and that's the Blue Moon cover that he does. The rest of them are as classic rock and roll, I guess. Elvis Presley.
And I should add to that too that certain versions of this album, to get the original pressing, will sell, if it's in VG Plus to excellent shape, will fetch anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500, typically just for a copy like this. Depending on the pressing and where you get the pressing from, you're going to pay anywhere from $50 to $300 for an early copy. And even like this copy here, I was fortunate to find a cover that was in absolute beautiful condition for $10, but I only had a record that was in my pile of records that had no covers. So I was able to match that with this, but I don't have, and it's not in the greatest shape. And that's why I asked the guys, I said, should we play the reprints or should we play this early mono copy? But the problem with this one is, and then we found out that it even skips. So on the record player I was playing on, it didn't, but on the B&O it did. And so you'll find that too with some needles, right? You will see them pop on some. Actually, one of those stories is I actually had a Def Leppard album I bought at a garage sale for $10, and I was hoping to get 25 for it at the antique mall. And then on my record player, it skipped, and so I just put it up for $10. And I said it has a skip on it, and I was just trying to break even on it. And then the guy who bought it came back and told me, he said, "Oh, I bought that Def Leppard album. It didn't even pop." And I'm like, so there you have it. So sometimes, right, that happens. But so this is if you can find this out in the wild, and this is an excellent album to find, especially if you can get it at a garage sale or something like that. It's very expensive, and one of the clues you want to look for with the early Elvis stuff is you want to look for the silver. It'll say silver long play. Can you see do we have a mono copy? Will I'll show you that
I
on the
don't think
TV
this-
here.
I don't think this is mono, but let me take a look. This is a 1956 copy I queued up.
Yep.
Here's
And
mono.
if how you can see, if you look at the bottom of the
Fine.
record there, you see where it says long play
Oh,
on the
there we go.
outsides of the 33 1/3. So that is one of your clues for the Elvis monos. And so, so this record would obviously go on to sell millions and millions and millions of copies, and so, so it stands as right Elvis folklore for one of the greatest selling ones, especially. What do you think, Lance?
I mean, I don't dislike this album. I'd actually heard this one before. I've been going on a recent journey where I've been listening to a long list of albums, and there've been a few Elvis ones on there. And as far as the Elvis albums go, I probably do enjoy this one more than, especially some of the later ones, because it is more just early rock. It really just is. So no, I don't mind it. There's that song I think we pointed out on the B side. That was catchy. That was the one that I think actually skipped when we played it on there. Really pressing. But no, I mean it's a decent enough album as far as Elvis goes. I probably don't have a lot to really say about it, all in all, but no, I didn't mind it.
And that track was trying to get to you.
I don't know if I had to compare the first Elvis album you brought to this one, I don't know if I'd be able. Like, I think those are on about even playing fields as far as me and my tolerance for Elvis goes, maybe.
And so when we did our first show, we never ended up doing a video on that
Oh,
one.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, so they
Oh.
would have never heard that one. And so I actually, Clint, would you grab that one for me right over there, the Elvis in Memphis? It's right down the side there. So I had bought this $250 audiophile version of an Elvis's first album when he comes back after the '68 tour, and he's really motivated. And so we had done this one, and a lot of people will look for this one from Elvis in Memphis. And this is an original master recording. Got the TV off again.
Okay, that's cool. Had to turn off the air conditioning so people can hear better.
And so this version of this one here cost me about $250. And then the funny thing is, I ended up not wanting to open that one. So then I went to eBay and found a used copy that I could listen to for $125. So now I have a sealed. Now that takes away the comment I was saying earlier. I do have a sealed copy. You know, something we were talking about. I generally try not to get into just worrying about sealed copies, just because I want to listen to them. And so with that one, because it was, I think, limited to
Sealed Led Zeppelin too.
10,000.
Oh,
Maybe
jeez.
it's an RL.
Maybe it's in.
What a fun
That was the
call.
1 year anniversary of that story. Was last weekend.
Was it really? It's
4th of
been a
July.
year already?
Been a year now.
It was 4th of July.
Oh, was it 4th of July?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Memorial Day. Okay, so not
Hopefully,
quite a year.
time heals
Yeah.
all things.
On my wallet.
What a fun. That was just a good experience for
Yeah,
everyone
it was
but
fun.
Josh.
It's like gambling. It's like gambling. You don't know.
Right?
It's like putting money into that machine over at the Eagles on a Friday night.
That was sealed.
Okay, Mike. Mike, what do you think?
Oh, I loved it. Probably gonna go listen to it tonight. You know, it's interesting the era that stuff is recorded live to tape. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that aspect of it, but because I'm still kind of partial to the modern way that albums are made, mixed.
Right.
I mean, I didn't hate it. I mean, I can accept Elvis for his contributions to modern music. I just like to bust Kenny's balls a little bit because
They harass me all the time.
there's more to the world than Elvis Presley. But no, I mean, I think there's something endearing about thinking back to something when just the atmosphere when an album like this was recorded and being in the studio and those were all. I don't want to say they were rough guys, but I think they were pretty hardcore in what they were doing. So,
Right.
I don't know.
Well, as you say that too, it kind of reminds me too, though, how this whole thing started for him, especially. Kind of, I've told them more of the story a little bit earlier, but basically these guys are Elvis is working as an electrician, driving truck, and Scotty Moore and Bill Black, who are part of the Sun Sound. They have jobs and they work as studio musicians on the side, and so they literally just get together and Elvis will kind of take the lead on how he wants this to sound, and then the guys kind of fill in, and Scotty Moore then fills in with the lead guitar, and then Bill Black is doing a stand-up bass. And so when he goes to RCA, though, then they get their studio musicians, and then Scotty Moore and Bill Black are kind of kicked to the curb. But Elvis will bring, and this is a good question, maybe Bruno will know this if he's watching. They bring Scotty Moore back for the '68 comeback special, but not Bill Black. And so I just thought about that now. I never really thought about that before. And then Scotty Moore will go back, to his thing at home. But Scotty Moore is now, I think, what did I say, in 2000, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So as his contribution with Elvis. So, Josh.
I don't hate this record. Part of it is that we trash talk Elvis so bad that it's really hard to put that aside, and you can only say somebody is awful so long before you start to believe it yourself. So if I put that part on the side, right, and I listen to what it is, it's a very good record. There is nothing wrong with this record where it fits in the pantheon of history and music and those types of things. It fits right in there. I also, like Mike, I love that raw sound, the live recording of it. The mono version that we listened to definitely had a better feel and character to it, and the sound of it, as opposed to the repress. So, that you get more of that feel from the original. It's a great compilation record. It really is. There's nothing wrong with it. I actually enjoy this one more than the first one we listened to be honest with you.
And so one of the things that these guys are pointing out right now too is the fact that so because Elvis they're just trying to do so much stuff, trying to figure out where to go with this.
Right.
This stuff is all just thrown together. It's not like many artists do. They go into the studio and they have a bunch of songs that they've written, right? And then they're producing it and they're putting that whole album through together.
Right.
And so that's not happening here. And right, so they just decide we're going to put this and this and this. And that's why I kind of liked Brad's comment too when he said you have one song that just feels like it doesn't fit.
Right. But that's how a lot of records were put together, though.
Well, you
back
gotta
then
think,
it was
even at that time, the format of an album, of going in and just recording an album, was still, everything was still single based at that time.
Exactly.
So the process of going in, we're going to record an album's worth of material, at that time was still
Great comment.
still not a very common thing. So you get a lot of, like, this. Technically, is it a compilation album? Technically, yeah, but it's kind of how albums were put together at that time.
We're using a modern term for something that was pretty standard back then. So,
And if you also notice with the early Sun stuff, there's no drums. So, now when we get to RCA, you're going to get drums and everything. And so when Elvis toured throughout the South, and then went on the Louisiana Hayride and, did all that early stuff in 55, in early 56, it's just Elvis on rhythm. And then it's Scotty Moore on guitar and Bill Black on stand-up bass. And there's no drummer.
Yeah, another thing that should be mentioned, somebody, it's either Josh or Mike, said that it was a singles 45 RPM format. Some 78s were made up till about 1960, but a lot of times the companies would put a hot song on one side, and on the back side they'd put a slow song.
right.
So it's really interesting how they did it, because they were trying to market a song, or the B side, somebody might have a different appeal.
Right.
But the album, yeah, it's got those Sun tracks on there, which I think are the best as far as Elvis goes. That's my take on it. Buy the Sun Sessions, and you'll be happy.
Clint.
It's almost as if Elvis is with us
Yeah.
tonight. And you guys can't even see the giant one off the screen on the other side, back in the sideburn phase. Yeah, I wasn't. I just wasn't really inspired listening to this. It wasn't anything that really caught me. Although what it did is it had me kind of yearning for when the Elvis sound had been dialed in, like you said. There's a lot of other stuff here. It's a hint of what's to come. I like the Sun Records Elvis, and so it's interesting because on one of these tracks, it's like, oh man, this is really a lot of what we would later call rockabilly, like really, in that genre. And then there's another one's like, boy, there's you almost hear echoes of doo-wop in this, almost, just a tinge of it. And so, yeah, like I said, they're figuring it out. We've got a bunch of different songs put together that weren't, produced and built and made together. So, yeah, that's really all I had to say about this one. I didn't have any particular thoughts for once.
Well, I think in a way you can almost call this experimental.
Maybe.
What do you think? Because, like I said, Scotty Moore and Bill Black and Elvis are trying to figure out a sound.
Yep.
Right. The young kids are resonating with it. And in a sense, also, what I kind of was talking about a little bit is this is, I think, really the beginning of the pop culture creation, more so once he gets to RCA, because Colonel Tom Parker is going to exploit Elvis's popularity and put it onto everything you can find, from board games to lipstick to
I think they were all experimenting though, to try to find what would work.
I think part of it was, this has probably been historically documented as far as that kind of the generation, that early baby boomers generation, that was, they were appealing to the teenagers of that. So the whole thing was a cultural revolution aside from what Elvis was doing. They were seeing teenagers becoming more of a driving force in buying music and getting jobs and going to the soda shops.
Yep.
They weren't just working at mom and dad's hardware store, because that's what you did when you were that age. They were kind of becoming their own economical force, and this is just an example of being able to market to that generation at the time, and having the foresight to see that teenagers have money to spend at that time, and we're going to get it from them.
Well, music was also coming into its own as an industry, as a business as well,
right,
in force,
Yeah.
Well, and I think if you look at when songwriting by artists became extremely popular, now starts with Dylan and the Beatles. And so as those artists, when we move away from like some Elvis and Sinatra, and some of these bigger names who are being fed songs, right, by an industry that is kind of created like this, these guys, now Dylan comes along, right, and he's writing his own songs. The Beatles are writing their own songs. And then they start to realize the economic impact as artists of writing your own songs. Right. And of course, and Colonel, like I told them too, Colonel would also learn how, hey, I'm losing money because Elvis is not songwriting. So by the late 60s, Colonel says, okay, how can I capitalize on this? And so then he starts to tell people, well, you know what, Clint, I'll do your song, okay, but you got to give me 50% of the publishing. Right. And so then a lot of artists were happy with that, because you're going to make a lot of money from the record sales. But some people will turn that down. And like Dolly Parton always tells the greatest story. She says that the song "I Will Always Love You" that she had wrote about Porter Wagoner, and I can't remember if I told it on the show or not, but I did. Okay. But she turned him down. And so, and obviously she'd make a lot of money. So by keeping it, but many artists understood they can get a playability factor they wouldn't get if they just kept it themselves, so they could make a lot of money. And of course, other people, right, would exploit that too by keeping songs within themselves. So there's a lot of money, right, within that ability to be able to write the songs. And so, like, just to kind of point out what you said about the industry factor.
Another note: the Clash used the album format, the layout
Exact same.
for London Calling, I believe it was,
Yep.
where they took the pink and green lettering and kind of nicked the idea from
I
this
don't think I ever
particular.
really put that
Yeah,
together.
that's exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly
Also, you talk about marketing. I mean, RCA released this. If you don't like the 12-inch format, they had like double 7-inch EPs and single EPs. You could buy them. They really started marketing
Forgot about that.
records at that time. I mean, I remember going through the 80s thinking, oh, there's a picture disc of this, or oh, there's a poster sleeve of this, and oh, there's this whatever colored vinyl. And they were marketing and trying to get people to buy more copies. Well, they were doing that back in the 50s because they had, if you wanted the 7-inch format, they had those double EPs. And I can't begin to tell you how those were all released. Kenny, probably you have them all in your collection. But anyway, it is
Missing a couple, but
it's interesting to
But
note that.
you do highlight something I think that is important to mention. I don't think we've ever talked on the show. I'm pretty sure the whole idea of the extended play, the EP. So when you go from, so you have these little 7-inch, right? If you think about the 45, well, what would begin to happen then is, just as Brad was saying, all of a sudden what they would start to do is then you would sell an extended play 45. So what that meant is then instead of just having one song and then a flip side, then you would get 2 songs on one side and then flip it and get 2 songs on the other side. So, and they would call that an EP, an extended play. And so with Elvis, because he was doing it from 56 all the way through, I should say through the 60s, because you're not going to get them past the 60s anymore, the extended plays, because by that time, the LP format is just so strong now that we just got the LP. But Elvis probably has a library of about 40 extended plays. And I know the Beatles have a couple, but they started to die out even by then.
Right.
And so I think there's 2 or 3 extended plays, Brad, on the Beatles. I know I've had. So there's not a ton of those.
In the US, in the UK, there might have been more. Like Sgt. Pepper, I'm sorry, Magical Mystery Tour, correction, was actually an EP
Okay.
before it was an album. So,
Ooh.
and it had a fold-out jacket and all this, but it was just this marketing idea. We're gonna get people to buy these records, whether it's a 12-inch, maybe it was economics. I don't know. You know,
More
the
affordable.
price of an album maybe back then was what, $3.98 or $4.98 or something like that. Maybe not even that much, but the EP probably was cheaper. So people, economic wise, could choose to get the music a different way, perhaps.
And that carried on to CDs too. There's lots of CDs out there that are called EPs.
Yeah.
Crazy from the Heat is an EP.
Oh, hey, wasn't there a David Lee Roth EP we
Yeah,
talked
Crazy
about
from
earlier?
the Heat.
Crazy
Oh,
from the Heat.
duh.
Yeah, the one
That's why he keeps
the
us
one
around
that-
for our
the
expertise.
one that Clint just said 2 seconds ago.
I was just doing that so you
What,
could pay
what,
attention.
what about that David Lee Roth one though?
Yeah. Wasn't it crazy from the Heat?
I forgot the title on it. But anyway, so with those EPs, I have most of them. There's actually one that's really hard to find, and now that I have means, I should probably actually look to try to fill some of these. So Elvis, one of the marketing tools that they did, there was actually an Elvis record player that was put out, and there was a cheaper record player, and then there was a more expensive record player, and so there was a double EP that was put with that one, SBA 21, if I'm correct, or 22.
Is that the same album,
Um,
or is it
yes.
a different album?
yes, and it was
Okay.
actually, it's got this image on it. It's very good.
Okay.
And so then with that one, so that's why probably that image is so iconic too. And then on the more expensive one, then you got a triple EP. And that was like the SPD 23. And that one today you can expect to pay $2,000 to $3,000 for.
Yeah, it's rare.
It's
And it probably has all the tracks then.
Mhm.
So, you know,
between the three.
but you could play it. RCA had these little record players that would only play 45s. And so that's why they marketed those as well. They had these little record players that with just a large spindle, and you couldn't play anything else on them. You couldn't play any long players. No 78s.
I'm still giggling because you said SBD, something that I hope never happens up here when we're doing this show.
SP, or I didn't say STD.
No, you said SBD, didn't you?
SBD?
Oh.
No.
Oh,
SP.
Anyway.
So,
Sorry, I'm getting all sugared up here from the mic. And
you can all shook up. So anyway, so with all these, yeah, there's a lot of collectability and a lot of this Elvis stuff, obviously. And so this early stuff is definitely nice to find. And if you know anyone who has any of those items, I would definitely be interested in buying them. And so I think now we're going to move on to some other albums that we've all picked this week. Who do you want to go first, Clint? I'll let you decide these ones.
We always go from your. We save the best for last. So.
Okay, I am going to pick the record that I listen to every morning. Every morning I listen to this.
It's a cutout too.
And so I was actually looking at you can look at your iTunes and you can see how much you played it. And it is amazing. And when I was looking at it, how long I've been listening to this. And so I just absolutely love this album by Bob Dylan. I actually found this record by accident because I was listening to it one day for the store. But I absolutely love this. I'll listen to it over and over again. But I will warn you that this is actually a Christian album. It's Bob Dylan's first Christian album. And so it's filled with imagery. And that's how it actually made me call Brad about it.
Uh-huh.
Well, the first of 3 that he did, and it's 1978.
Who's next?
Oh, I'll go.
A man whose pick sold, according to Eric.
Is that what happened? Okay, I was gonna say.
Oh,
I'm sitting here laughing because I'm like,
There's
there's
no
no
disconnect.
album in here. Why were you putting this out in your store?
Somebody
Trying
put it
to
up
sell. So that makes sense. And I grabbed this just because I wanted to join the game of picking an album that I knew would sell. But I do like Hotel California by the Eagles. I actually got to see the Eagles while they did their Hotel California tour at the Excel Center, and it's a really good album, start to finish. All the guitar work on the song Hotel California, just Jesus, does it get much better than this?
Wasted Time's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, it was really cool. So like when we saw them live, they literally like had a person come out and they like set a vinyl on a turntable and like hit play and the band started playing.
Really?
They played this albums. So they played the front side, then someone came out, flipped it, and then they started on the B side.
Cool.
And then they like did all their hits after that too. But it was really neat hearing this album live, just start to end. So yeah, good one right here.
Wow, I've never heard that before.
Thanks for whoever bought it. I guess I win. So
Speaking of first era rock, Del Shannon had some massive hits in that first era. I've always liked his voice. But this is probably one of his last efforts. Came out in 91. And he had a tragic ending. The reason I picked this one, and I'm not totally into everything he did. I think he had some very low spots, but he did a psych album and he did some Baroque pop kind of things in the 60s that are actually quite good, but totally underrated. But the reason I picked this is because this is kind of like a remnant, if you will, of the Traveling Wilburys, because this is produced by Jeff Lynne. Tom Petty plays on it, and it has that sound, that Jeff Lynne sound that is on the Traveling Wilburys records. And Del actually was going to do some songs, and I think they recorded Runaway, his big hit, with the Wilburys. And so they were kind of working with him, like they grabbed Roy Orbison and some of these other classic, all the Wilburys are classics really, but when they brought Roy in, Del kind of fit in that mold where he was, kind of these early rockers and stuff. And anyway, it's an interesting record. It's not real strong, but it does have the Jeff Lynne production sound, and it kind of has that ELO slash Wilburys production quality to it. It's kind of cool that
Do
way.
you have a copy of that in your collection?
I do not.
That one's for sale.
He said it's not very strong though. So.
Yeah. It has its moments.
Michael?
All right. Well, I picked this classic, GNR's first. We had Bob Dylan's first kind of Catholic Christian album. This is Guns N' Roses'
First Christian
first
album,
Christian
yes.
album.
Tell by all the symbolism there.
Yeah.
Not much to say about Appetite for Destruction that hasn't already been said over the past 40 years. Arguably the greatest hard rock debut album of all time.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
if
we'll
I-
probably be doing one of these at one time with one of you.
If I never had to hear that full album cover to finish again, I think I'd be
Oh,
alright though.
it's-
I don't know about that.
I remember
There's just a few songs where it's like, I don't know.
when I was a kid and I wanted the cassette, it took me, I had to find a copy at Target
Mm-hmm.
that had the parental advisory sticker.
So you got the right
It was
one.
on the cellophane.
Yeah.
Oh.
So when I,
Yep.
opened it up, then no more parental advisory.
Oh,
Not
nice.
But yeah, I mean, it's Appetite for Destruction.
Classic.
I was
record.
hoping to get a lot more votes than I did this month because I figured it's Appetite for Destruction. But
Yeah, but when you got Josh's pick, how you gonna compete?
Yeah,
Well-
I don't know. We'll go with Metallica's fourth record, their first Christian record, and Justice for All. Probably the pinnacle. I would say the pinnacle of the thrash genre, that West Coast thrash genre, was this record. There could be some cases for the first or Master of Puppets. There should be Testament. There could be some other bands that come into those conversations, but this is the record that kind of brought all that music to the forefront. All of a sudden, everybody starts paying attention to it, mostly because of the song One, which is probably, in
Oh,
my
yes.
opinion, the weakest song on this record. But it is the most commercially viable one. So I understand why they make the video, why they release that song. Loses the Grammy to Jethro Tull.
Which
Wow.
Tull album? Wow.
I don't remember which one it was. I was so mad the night that they lost that I turned the TV off and didn't watch anymore.
Josh, did you go and destroy all your Jethro Tull records? then?
Yes, all of them. The CDs were flying out the window. My flute. All of it went. Also a very fantastic concert. They played here. It was excellent. If you wanted to get the vibe, there is the Seattle concert is online, is on YouTube. It's readily available, so you can watch it there. It captures the gravitas of that concert pretty well. Jason Newsted, bass player, his bass lines are not very audible on this record. There's lots of reasons why, or lots of speculation why.
I don't know why they don't all just come out and say it at this point, 40 years later.
Right.
It's,
But-
it ain't gonna change anything.
Right. But yeah, classic record. Highly recommend it, especially if you're into this music.
I thought I heard about them recently wanting to release that again.
Well, they have released it, and Justice for Jason. It's a bootleg that somebody made in Australia. I believe it was Australia, where they increased the bass, so they remixed it and brought it up. You can get it. It's a bootleg though. So it sounds like a bootleg though. Is the problem? It doesn't sound great. I don't think. Anyway,
Well, I'm the only guy who picked a CD this time around, and I went with Yellow. And Yellow are actually a Swiss group, and everybody knows the one song they did in Secret of My Success, and also Ferris Bueller. I put Kenny's movie first, but he's not paying attention.
I was.
But
The Christian hit.
this is their first Christian album. No, actually, this is Essential Yellow. So this has some stuff from early on, long before they came out with Oh Yeah, and long after. And one other place where you would hear a lot of Yellow is in Miami Vice. So you had like Fred Lyle was the first 2-year music director for Miami Vice. He handed off to Cohen, and of course Michael Mann had a lot to say about the use of music. And these guys, their music is very thematic, and it's good stuff. It's good mood music. It's not. I think it's kind of its own genre, to be honest with you, but doesn't adhere to one particular thing. But this is a German copy. There's also an American domestic copy down on the shelf. This is a good way to sample a lot of the stuff that they do. They've been in movies like Band of the Hand, things like that. This is really good music to set the mood of a scene with, which obviously those guys, when they wanted to have a dark and unsettled, and not that that's what all these songs are like, but when they wanted to really have a mood on a scene in Miami Vice, which of course broke a lot of the molds as far as how music was used on TV shows. That's where you hear these guys too. So.
The precursors to the Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross,
For sure.
movie production soundtracks, things like that.
Yep.
They were doing that in the 80s. Great record.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was trying to look up some names to see if there's what are some names of anybody we haven't talked about. Who have we lost in the last few months? Can you think of anybody?
Gosh, I know that.
Mine, I can think of Neil Sedaka.
No More Laughter in the Rain.
Anybody else?
Not that I know of.
No.
I wish you'd lose those rings.
These are real. This is a real 6-carat diamond
Of course,
here.
it's a real ring.
It's real cubic zirconia.
Right.
Indeed. Well, we're just glad you didn't do the whole ensemble.
We wanted the whole ensemble.
Yeah, I didn't put on my sideburns. I should have.
Oh, I was just going by what the group text was saying earlier.
Well, I will say that financially it's been a decent month, but traffic wise it hasn't. And so we did really good at the record fair, which was good. But May seems to be a lot of graduations, a lot of things that are going on.
Hard time of the year, yep.
And so it was a challenge. So we only have 4 signups here.
Well, I blame Eric for not
Our store
not
staff.
pitching it.
And I
enough.
could not find comments on my phone. Can you double check?
There's a couple.
Is there?
Um,
I like the comments. That's my favorite part of the whole show.
of the 4 votes, we had an Eagles, a GNR, a Yellow, and a Dylan. So there is no clear winner except Lance won because his original pick sold.
What was
his original pick?
Oh,
He
so
just-
okay.
Oh, it's Hotel California.
So
But
someone
it's
just-
sold.
Not a win.
Oh, it's sold.
So
Okay.
somebody
This is
just
just
threw the
like
cover
a
up.
cover
Oh, so they
copy.
put a cover in. I got.
Oh, which is a great reminder too. A lot of times people, if you are looking for covers and you have a record and that's really nice, but your cover's not that nice. I do have a lot of extra covers in here that I like to save because sometimes I will get a bad cover in and I can, switch, but I always try to make sure it's with the right pressing. So I don't, if someone's a reprint, I don't want to put a reprint, with the original. So I always try to make sure that we match that up. So if you're looking for them, you can come down and we can see. Actually, I had somebody buy a cover off my wall in the frames, or you can just do some framed art and make artwork out of it. And so some people have done that. I had somebody buy a really cool, was it a Kiss one of the, there's a big band like that for $10 with the framed art. Instead of buying the album for 30 or 40, you just bought the cover.
I saved a
in a frame.
lot of CD long boxes that way. Like I have an original Joe Satriani Surfing with the Alien when they still had the rights to the Silver Surfer Marvel character on there, things like that. Long box.
Oh,
Pretty
cool.
cool. Yep. So we had one comment. Disappointed. Thought he was going to discuss how the Too Fast for Love record doesn't get the love it should have. Who's that directed at? Who did Too Fast
We
for Love?
talking about Too Fast. I don't remember talking about Motley Crue.
I don't either. Two records. Oh wait.
Didn't Elvis do that song first?
Elvis did Too Fast for Love. Too Fast for Love was kind of I wouldn't say it doesn't get the recognition it doesn't get or it deserves. It's kind of up there with the beginning of the whole '80s glam.
Hmm.
Um,
It is the start of it on the West Coast.
it's really the start. Yeah, I mean Motley Crue kind of did it. They weren't getting a lot of traction on the industry, so they did it themselves with independent management and kind of blew themselves up on the West Coast.
Yep.
So big that eventually the labels had to start paying attention. But
Once they started, they didn't stop until about 1989.
yeah,
Then, yeah, I know. I'm looking down at the Metallica and Guns N' Roses, and at the time when those came out, I was way more into New Order and that kind of stuff, and didn't want to have anything to do with this.
Well-
And then later on, after a lot of the hype had passed, I loved both of those albums.
Right.
So
yeah, and you like again, you could dissect every genre, down to the nth degree. But Too Fast for Love, if there wasn't a Too Fast for Love, does it set the whole thing off? Probably not.
No.
I mean, it was
No, it
the,
would've-
the whole thing
it
was
would've been
still
different.
was gonna blow up. But
Most of those acts, though, that came from that scene will tell you that it was Motley Crue that started it. So that's not an industry thing. That's not people
Yeah.
saying it. It's literally the guys like Tracy Guns and Bobby Blotzer and those people that were out there were saying that we had to do something to try to keep up with Motley Crue because
Yeah.
they were where it was at. So
well, even at that time, they were still the early '80s battling new wave, and it was. I don't want to say what they were doing was as a direct response to new wave, but it was definitely more aggressive than what the knack was at the time.
well, there's always this counterbalance to whatever's going on, right? So you look at it all through history, but let's just in music history, right? There's always this side doing this, and then there's this side doing that. Disco, punk,
yep.
right? So new wave, glam, heavy metal, thrash, or grunge, and then you just have these point counterpoint all the time, and that's what makes it. That's why we keep evolving. That's why everything is going this way, and then you have these points where it revert. You have these nostalgia phases where things come back. So, and you end up having this step that just kind of restarts and then just keeps going this way. You can actually kind of watch, if you follow music now, you can kind of watch the trends on what's going to come back around and then how each side is going to counterpoint itself. So it's interesting.
But and I guess if we were going back to the tying it all together with GNR to Metallica, of course, were very anti glam, but they were label mates with Motley Crue.
Mhm.
And I can't say that one of them that was a result of of Motley Crue becoming popular and the labels seeking out other hard bands. I don't think that's the case, but I think all the labels started. They would go after if the heavy metal's the thing, all the labels are going to go after the heavy metal.
Right.
It's just kind of interesting to me that they were so
So
adversarial when they were label mates.
so
And the interesting thing about the glam thing, when you mentioned glam, they're all lumped into glam, and everyone's kind of perception of
Right.
glam is like
different.
1986 Poison.
Right.
When you look at what the cat dragged in,
Yeah.
and they're all, you can't tell if they're women or not.
Right.
Mhm.
It's
That was
just-
really a small portion of what was going on, and what that look. They all kind of might have had that look, but it wasn't through their entire
no.
careers.
And that was kind of the catalyst of it too. That was like the peak
Mm-hmm.
of what it was because it had started way, way, way before that.
There's a Hall & Oates album downstairs where it's kind of an airbrush thing, and it's like Yeah, you look at Daryl Hall. It's like, gee whiz, is that a chick?
Is that
I mean-
like a silver?
Whitish or silverish,
Yeah.
yeah. But
I got know which album you're talking about.
yeah,
Kind of copying on that.
Well,
you're saying?
let's all remember what John Lennon said.
Imagine.
Yeah, no. Glam is just rock and roll with lipstick on.
Brad, we need more voices in this show.
What other comments do we have?
What was the second one?
There's another one.
no, that was it. With,
Oh, was
it was just continuing of all the Motley Crue records. It jumped from one line to the next.
Oh, okay.
Of course, Shout at the Devil's the best Motley Crue album.
How many copies of Shout at the Devil do you currently own?
No shame.
No,
No,
like
you-
probably 20 LPs and a few CDs and cassettes. Probably 25 all total in different formats.
That's his favorite.
For real? And well, that's probably why the question too, right? Look at your shirt.
Your shirt.
I just noticed it now.
Possibly.
Who was our winner? We got sidetracked. Oops.
Oh. Karen Walliser.
Karen, and she is one of our frequent patronizers of this store. So thanks, Karen. Thanks for coming
77 free items await you. For
From the 8-track section.
yeah,
in.
Throw in some
one free box of 8 tracks.
and we'll throw in some singles.
Or you'll get $10. So thank you. Well, I think another great episode.
Up next,
Who's up next?
Yeah, who's got the pick?
Brad.
Brad always follows me.
And just to give kudos to Brad, when we were talking earlier, he guessed at the price of what a record cost in what that Elvis record cost in 1956.
It was a wild guess.
and it was $3.98. You had it exactly right. So,
And this is
that's
why
all
I go to Brad.
Not all the
he's our-
neurons are disappearing, but at
he's
least
our
I got a few left.
encyclopedia. So,
Well, and I think obviously you being one of the probably the first ones to get onto this train, right, from this group. What was it, 70? What did you say when you got on? Started buying records?
Well, I bought my first record in 1969.
So 69.
It was just a 45, Tommy James and the Shondells. I like the reverb on Crimson and Clover. I thought that was really cool when you're 9 years old. But I think I started hardcore collecting, if I can say that, in 1977. We were on an orchestra tour or band tour. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. It was a choir tour. See, the neurons are, and we went to this record store in Minneapolis called Or Folk Joke Opus, which was named after I believe a Roy Harper album. And just I'll make this brief. We can do this some other time. But Or Folk Joke Opus had imports, and that you could actually buy. You didn't have to sit there and try to order them or figure it out somehow or even dream of having those kind of records. They had them right in the store. 26th and Lyndale, I believe, is the shout out to Peter. I think was one of the guys that was working there when I showed up. But anyway, that was really a cool place. And we just got into buying certain groups and things like that. And we started collecting and it was just a lot of fun. It's a great memory for me.
Ironically, I grew up right off of North Lyndale, North Minneapolis.
Yeah, we forget how good we had at being able to just go into a record store and just have all the new stuff out there. And like you said, imports. What I had to do in the 80s is I had a friend who later on went to go DJ at KEXP in Seattle, but he would pick up tons of import stuff in Seattle, and I just sent him a box of Denon D90 cassettes. And he would make me mixtapes of industrial stuff. His nickname online back in the predecessor to what is now the internet was Yellow. Actually, Andy was his name. And it was so cool to be able to go into a big store and that was every Saturday.
and to walk in and then be able to talk to people.
Yeah.
That would you were always expanding. So like mine was coming in from Dickinson to go to Budget.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Keith and Larry.
And you walk in there, and we walk in there every Saturday, and they'd be, oh, hey, we got this. We know you like this. You should check this out. So you were constantly, instead of, because we couldn't go listen to it online. It was on MTV or that was it. And you bought the record. So
the record
Yep.
well, in those days it was Tuesdays.
Tuesdays were release days. Yep.
In those days, and it was
Yeah, and if it was on the wall, you got a buck off.
We get that same banter around here. That's one of the coolest things when Kenny opened this shop is just being able to come down and talk music with some rando you never met before.
Right.
Fun stuff.
And I've always wondered if I wasn't here for this, so I would have never been a part of this, and you were probably too young. But if you four would have ever bumped into each other at that store, I wish you could go back in time and be like, "Oh, there was Josh on the other side of the store, and here's Brad," but you didn't know each other at the
I
time.
bet, because I used to frequent Guitar Land in the 90s. I bet Josh and I crossed paths.
Yeah,
for sure.
I ran into Josh at Guitar Land, and I didn't
You
know
remembered
him.
it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Oh wow!
Brad used to sell
Who's the
records.
cool guy?
Brad used to sell records in the back of String Bean too.
Mm.
So
And did you also have some equipment with rhythm for a while?
Yeah, I sold used turntables and things like that.
Well, I think didn't we find out that some of your pieces that Mike had brought in here, we got.
I didn't tell him yet.
Yeah, you got to tell him that.
Okay. Yeah, Mike has a bunch of hi-fi gear that will be coming out at some point, I think. I'm not in charge of that, but some of the pieces that you actually bought were ones that I sold.
Oh yeah.
If you find a sticker with 801 on it,
Oh,
huh.
it's just a circle of life.
It really is.
It's our Lion King moment.
and no, I do not want that equalizer back.
I don't either.
I don't-
No
You
EQs.
don't need it anymore.
So, it's interesting because talking about used equipment, one of the things that I used as a live streamer is I've done some live sports that we simulcast with the people on the radio. And so we used their announcer audio to call the game. And then when they say, we'll be right back, we cut away from their audio feed so they can run their commercials. And then I had this little Sony sports radio that had just the best tuner in it. And I had it hooked into my audio board in an IFB channel. So in my ear, I could hear what the radio guys were doing and what we were doing. And then I'd wait for their announcement coming back. And then I'd go back to their announcers. And that's how I'd time it. And I couldn't find that doggone radio anywhere. I've been looking at them on eBay. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. And standing in here yesterday, I look and holy cow, there's one on the shelf. And it was a little bit scratchy. Brad pulls the cover off, cleans up the pots on it. It's like, all right, there you go. So I bought that little radio. So, it's not just records and 8-tracks down here. There's other stuff too, hardware. So
Yeah, and if you think too, if you're around and you want something to for us to look at, we'll take a look at it and see if we
Brad
can
will
help you.
take a look at it. There's no we.
I
None
said
of us
that.
are doing it. It's Brad.
We'll try.
He tries. He's touched up a lot of people's equipment for them. And so thanks, Brad.
yeah.
Yeah, I have just one more thing to say, and that is Elvis is still in the building.
Yeah. It's over in that corner.
Well, speaking of that, that's my segue that remember, right? In every record, there's a story to be told.
And that's where we cue the riveting jingle.
Yeah.
Bye,
Bye, everyone.
Kenny's music and more, a place like no other. With records and cassettes, he's a music lover. Blues, rock, country, and more to explore. 10,000 vinyls and memorabilia galore. Come on down to the shop, there's something for all. Step into the world of music and more, where melodies and memories are in store. From Elvis to polka, we have it all. At Kenny's Music and More, you'll have a ball. A teacher and a DJ with a passion so deep. Kenny knows every lyric even in his sleep. His collection is unique, a treasure treasure trove. In Bismarck, Indy, it's the place to just roll.